Alright, today we will go over different properties of parallelograms. So first, let's start with the 5 basic properties, and then I'll go to the definition. 5 basic properties of a parallelogram. First, that in a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. That's why it's called a parallelogram. What this means in my picture over here is where I'll start doing all the symbols. These arrows mean the top side and bottom side are parallel, they're opposite sides. And then the left side is parallel with the right side. One arrow parallel with one arrow, 2 arrows parallel with 2 arrows. Next property is that opposite sides are congruent. Meaning the top is congruent with the bottom, so I'll use tick marks. Then this is congruent with that. Next, opposite angles are congruent. Opposite angles meaning this angle right here is congruent with this angle. They're opposite from each other. Likewise, this angle is congruent over here. Next up, consecutive angles are supplementary. Consecutive meaning if I pick this angle, the angle right after it, these two are supplementary. These two are supplementary. These two are supplementary, and these two are supplementary. Reason they're supplementary is if I have these two parallel lines cut by a transversal, this angle and this angle, these two are actually same side interior angles. So we have supplementary angles because of same side interior angles. Last part, the diagonals bisect each other. So 1, 2, 3, this side congruent with 1, 2, 3, this segment. 1, 2, 3, 4, this segment with 1, 2, 3, 4, that segment. So there you have properties of a parallelogram. Now for the definition, a parallelogram is simply put a quadrilateral where opposite sides are parallel. In other words, property number 1. Once you have property number 1 and nothing else, that means you can automatically assume that all these other properties are in there. Again, once you have property number 1, that means everything else is true about that quadrilateral. Alright. I'll do a few examples over here and wrap this up. Example 1. Example 1 does not have a picture. So we have ABCD, which is a parallelogram. Let's go and draw that picture. Okay. When you draw a picture, the order of the letters matter. You have to go around A, B, C, D. Pick one corner to start with and go around. What you cannot do is something like A, B, C, D. We go from A up here to B, down there to C, over here to D. You cannot do this. The letters need to go around. Right, they tell us angle A is X, angle D is 2x minus 3. Okay. So this is property number 4. Consecutive angles, this corner and this corner, are supplementary. So we have x plus 2x minus 3 equals 180. And I'll stop right here. Next, example 2. Again, we'll draw my quadrilateral. We have x, y, z, w. It's a parallelogram with diagonals xz and yw intersecting at point A. They tell us that xa is 3m. So this segment right here is 3m. And then ZA, this segment, is 5m minus 4. So one of our properties is diagonals are bisected, meaning this part and this part are congruent. So over here, the 3m and the 5m minus 4 are congruent. So my equation, 3m equals 5m minus 4. Last part. Let's start with Z. This angle and this angle, hopefully we can recognize that these are opposite angles. And we know opposite angles are congruent. This angle and this angle, while not a property unique to parallelograms, it is something that we have learned before. Angle, this angle 35 degrees and this angle y are alternate interior angles. We have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So 35 and y are alternate interiors, which means y is also 35. Last part. This angle 120 and this angle 35 plus x are consecutive, meaning 120 plus 35 plus x. They're consecutive, which makes them supplementary. Combine like terms. Subtract 155 both sides. Because again, this corner, the top left corner, plus the entire bottom left corner together equal 180. So those are some properties. Let's do a bit more practice. So again, here's properties. I'll do number 1 and stop right there. When I give you something like this, my advice is figure out which sides angles are congruent. Up here, AB is 15, which tells me DC down here is also 15. BC is 8, which means over here, AD also 8. D is 68, which means over here, B, opposite angles are congruent, also 68. Last part, A, we don't know, but we know A and D add up to 180. So 180 minus 68 gets me 112, which means A is 112. Because again, this angle and this angle together need to equal 180. Which also means A and C are opposite, also 112. So there you have it, properties of a parallelogram.